Hello there, everyone. Thanks for watching again. Today, welcome to the episode number 9 of Devs Wall. Today, as usual, we have a really special guest um, because it's not always about uh, software development per se. Today, we have a UI designer. She is a passionate for music, photography, and she enjoys everything related to visual and art, but with a touch of nerdiness and a little bit being square. I want to welcome Betty Aragon. How are you?
Hello, I, I'm fine. Happy to be
Excellent.
here.
Oh, thanks for accepting the invitation. We're always happy to have different profiles here because now we have a UI designer here. It's not always about uh, coding and all that stuff, all
Yeah,
that boring
because you
stuff.
said it's not always about software development, but we are a part of software development. So that's something we're going
Yeah,
to talk about.
exactly. You guys are a really important part of software development. But first, before going to that point, I want to talk a little bit about you. How about your background? How did you get involved into anything related to software engineering?
Okay. Well, basically, it started since school because I studied a career called engineering and graphic design. It's kind of a mix and match of stuff for graphic designers. Like we have a bit of animation and drawing and stuff like that, logos, the basic stuff. But we also had classes that involved HTML, CSS, JavaScript, like an intro to front end development and also an intro to UX and UI design. And surprisingly, I really enjoyed that. So that's the career path I took on. Well, I also do photography and other stuff, but mostly my UI designer.
Excellent. So yeah, you just said that you also do photography, right?
Yes.
But do you do it like as a hobby, or do you?
I used to do it professionally for advertising agencies. Like I went to restaurants, took photos for people like in the medicine industry and so much so, but it's a bit tiring. And with the pandemic, I decided to focus mostly on UI design. Make more sense. I could do it remotely, and it's pretty fun. And now I do photography just for fun. And can I do shameless self promotion?
Yeah. This is your
You
place.
can find my Instagram as BEATTCY. I'll write it later.
Okay.
And if you like bird photography, that's what I'm into now, since
Bird
I do it for fun. Yeah,
bird photography or
bird, like birds that fly.
birds?
Sure.
Oh, so could you spell again your Instagram?
Um, B as in Bravo,
Yeah,
E as in elephant,
yeah.
A T as tacos, T again, Z as in zebra, and Y.
Let's see.
Yahtzee.
All
That's
right.
my handle. Hmm.
So we will put it now, and we will put it at the end, just to remember. This is
Yeah.
this is your Instagram, right?
Yeah, photography related. There, you won't find
Photography. Yeah,
UI stuff there.
that's fine. That's fine. This is a place where anyone can do self promotion.
Cool.
Even I do it sometimes.
Nice.
Perfect. So going back to this, um, do you have? I mean, how many years or how much time do you have in the software area
Hmm,
in the
that's
different projects?
that's a good question because ever since since I was studying, my internship, I did it in a company that was for a hosting company in Tijuana. And the work I did there, it wasn't software, but it was with websites. I started learning about CMS and also designing like landing pages, things that are pretty basic. And after that, I worked in an agency and I did a lot of websites as well. But ever since I think it was 2019, before the
Okay.
pandemic,
Yeah.
I I did make the leap from websites to actual software.
All
Um,
right.
so it's kind of newish for me, like being totally into software, because before I just like participated in projects, mostly like helping out with mobile apps and stuff, but they were like a very high level. I didn't get too involved, and in the recent years, I've been a critical part of the teams.
All right. Nice. So do you focus most, or it's I mean, I will ask questions as a software developer because I'm more like a developer. So I might ask stupid questions for you. Just
Uh,
excuse me for that.
it's I listened to a podcast called Ologies that
Okay.
slogan is basically ask stupid questions to a lot of people and you will learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's the purpose of this. Whoever watches this uh, will learn a lot. I mean,
yeah.
that's the purpose. I will learn a lot. So you normally do the UI design for both web, mobile, or for basically anything.
Yes, it depends on the project. Some projects are still desktop based instead of mobile first because of it's for specific companies and we know that the equipment they have is still desktop.
Mm-hmm.
But lately, we have been transitioning on making some of the applications we develop also um, responsive to tablet and mobile. But it's still more like a website that is responsive. Well, it
Right.
acts responsively as more of a not really like a native app.
Mm-hmm.
That is in the future state where I'm working on. It's more, they're always more like trying to adapt it instead of being native, because that's a bit more harder for the companies I work with.
All right, I like that. I mean, let's talk about the mobile first term.
Okay.
What can you can you explain what do we mean for mobile first
Um,
in general design?
because sometimes when we design thinking of desktop, we have a lot of more space
Mhm.
and we can get intricate, add a lot of details and think that, oh, you see this and this on the side and you get the whole context of stuff. But you make your design, it gets approved, and then it's like, I have to do it on mobile. And you notice that a lot of things are too complicated, too crammed for that small screen, and the interactions are not gonna go well. So if you design with mobile in mind first, you get the challenge at the beginning and start seeing like, is this necessary? How can I make this more simple and make better experience in general? And it's easier. I mean, it's not easier because you put the challenge at the beginning, but it wastes less time because sometimes if you create for the desktop and then go to the mobile, you will get into some complications and you will have to redo desktop to get everything working. So that's why we are going mobile first. And the reason we are starting to do mobile first is because that's what most of us use. Um, like we're all the
You're right.
time grabbing our phone. It's easier for us, even when we're using the computer and we have like Facebook app open or whatever. Sometimes it's easier to check it here because it gives you the notification or stuff. So we have to consider that our users use mobile
Do you
first.
think that all or most of the new or at least new or ongoing web projects or software should follow mobile 1st?
Um, yes and no,
Mm-hmm.
because like I mentioned, it depends on the people that are using it. And in some
All right.
companies where the companies give software to the employees, we know for a fact that the employees will not be using an iPad or the iPhone. They are using a very small Microsoft service Surface
Yeah.
computer, or we know exactly what equipments they have, and we know the future equipments that the company is gonna give them. So that helps us focus our designs a bit more, and it might not necessarily be mobile. maybe it might be tablet or something else. So I think eventually, like, everything is gonna be available for mobile eventually, but
Hmm.
some companies are still not in that stage, and mostly because they require to do like calculations or things that are too um, heavy to process, and or they just don't want to change equipment for their employees.
Yeah, I do agree. Maybe it, yeah, as you said, it depends on the type of project or and also the type of users, right? Or
Hmm.
if it's like a software to the consumer, and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
it's mobile first. It's
If
makes
it's
sense.
for the consumer, I would say mobile first.
Hmm.
But if it's like software that for a company for internal use, that would depend a lot for depending on the company. How do they work?
All
That's why
right.
it's not an easy question. Most of things when it comes to design and UX is like you can never say yes, no. This is the answer. It's like it depends.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. For now it depends, and I do agree with you that maybe most of them in the near future will have to adopt the mobile first approach because it's simple, and it's
Yeah.
really common that everyone it's really simple to go and check here at the beginning, and then rather
Also,
rather than the desktop.
smartwatches.
Exactly.
I think something that's gonna grow a lot is apps for the cars, stuff like that.
Correct. For different for different devices and everything. All right. So I think we already uh, navigating to the UI UX topics. I mean, I navigated to the mobile first thing.
It's
Now,
important topic.
exactly, it's one of the things I've heard so much in terms of that, because I'm working in some other projects, and I notice that when we do the design, we don't not usually follow the mobile first approach, and then it's kind of a mess, going from okay the regular desktop, and then okay it needs to work for mobile. Oh, how's that? It's harder to go from there to the mobile than focused on the mobile, like many new apps do. Many apps that you use daily, you rarely go to the web page. I don't know if you go to the web page of Uber or you go to the web page of Rappi, of those ones. It's really, if you go to the web page, it's really simple because it's everything focused on the mobile. But it depends on the kind of software application we're talking about.
Yeah. It's funny that you say Uber because it's not available where I live.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's a
Maybe Rappi isn't either. Okay.
no.
Oh, okay.
But it's okay. I understand.
I think you understand, but I think you will have some other options in the place where you live. Yeah, this is interesting. How some apps are available, and we live in the same country.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is. So now let's go back. No, let's go to the main topic. I mean, what is UI UX,
Okay.
and
First,
what what
yeah.
do we mean by that? Me as a developer, I know UI UX. I know there are some people that I work with that they design and they give me the stuff that I need to. They just tell me, okay, here's the stuff. It looks really pretty in whatever software they're using. It can be in Vision or you call it whatever software you're using, and then I need to translate that stuff to my software IDE, and it's not always simple. Why?
Okay.
Why? What is? But yeah, I'm just releasing my frustrations with you. But first of
The
all,
second
uh,
topic is gonna
uh,
help out.
all right.
So first, what is a UI designer and what is a UX designer? We know we talk about it like UI UX because in a lot of companies they combine the two roles into one person, which is not the best. Like I've experienced being the UI UX person and the UI person with a partner that is the UX, and such a difference. UI, okay, I think it's better if I explain UX first. Basically, the UX person gets to know the stakeholder and the users, because sometimes there are different type of users that are going to use the software, and the business as well. Sometimes we also have somebody who's called a business analyst, who says like, oh, if we do this, this is going to help our business, and it's also going to help our users, like it's going to help us sell stuff, etc. So the UX designer and the business analyst create the flows. Like, we need a way for a user to create certain action, and this is the path that they have to choose. And basically, the business analyst creates a flow chart, and the UX designer creates the wireframes that are basically like, they can be different fidelities, but a good way to differentiate the UX designer with the UI designer is when you see like low fidelity wireframes that have like boxes that say like, um, text box, radio button, uh, picture, text, and they will have arrows to where they have to go. What does that radio button need to do? Where will this button take you? Like, the UX designer designs the experience, because that's what it means, user experience. So it has to take into consideration what action does the user have to do and how can they do it efficiently. And thinking in software, you have to think also what experiences is he used to. Like, we're not going to use a radio button as a checkbox. Like, you cannot check two radio buttons. That would be a strange user experience, because we're all familiarized that when you use radio button is one or the other. When you click on another one, the other one will deselect, right? So they have to take all things to consider and create the wireframes. Then me, a UI designer, gets the wireframes. I'm talking like if it were a separate thing. Normally we collaborate a lot and we do a lot of meetings, but if we would to separate it, I wouldn't be involved in the wireframe, but I am, because, like, I mean, it's like a team effort and we collaborate a lot, communication and stuff. Now that I have the wireframe, like, I know that there needs to be a navigation, I need to add some radio buttons and some text and some images. My work is to add them in the way that it's going to look when it's developed. That includes the sizes that are correct, the colors that are correct, the spacing, um, basically anything visual. That is the interface. That's what UI means, uh, user interface. So everything that you see, I have to put there. Like, uh, they say, what do I need? The UX designer, what do we need? And the UI designer is how it's gonna look. Like, we
All
make it,
right.
like you say. That's why you get all those pretty designs, because that's our work. We have to pretty it up, but we also have to be consistent, to make sure that we don't alter the user experience as well. They are interconnected. If we are not consistent, for example, if everywhere in a software links are color red for some reason, and in this new page I'm creating, I put a link that is color blue just because I think it looks prettier, it's going to create a conflict with the user experience, because it's not in the same color as everywhere else in the website, so, or software, so the user might miss it. So that's why I say, like, we are separate entities, but we're also intertwined. Like, we have to work together to make something that looks good and works well and can be experienced in the correct way. And also with the business, to make sure that what we are doing helps the business.
All right. Yeah. So basically, those templates that you see sometimes, I mean, I don't see them that often. That, as you explained at the beginning, that says, okay, here it's it's normally everything it's white, and everything is just with kind of squares and everything. is more of a work of the UX, right?
Yes,
And
like
then
the
they
flow charts and the wireframes,
exactly
low fidelity wireframes.
exactly it's called low fidelity wireframes, right?
Yeah, when it doesn't look
Mhm.
like the final product, is low fidelity. And there's super low fidelity. Like you can literally give me a paper with some sketches saying like this is the home button, and I will understand it. So it depends. A lot of
Mhm.
we're gonna talk about design systems following on, but when you have that, the UX can wireframe things that look very high fidelity as well. So that's
It
why
would,
I can't say like
yeah,
UX designers only give low fidelity, because sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes they look pretty close to the final product, and it's up to us designers just to
nice.
tweak some stuff.
Sometimes it's pretty close, but it's not their actual job. It's
Yeah.
more of a job of the UI to make it look pretty, right?
Yes.
Maybe they're
That's
more
it.
focused on the template and the
Mhm.
consistency and the general experience of the user, and you're
Mhm.
focused more on the okay, this looks pretty, or
Yeah, and also the consistency, but of the spacing and
the
that the font is the
spacing.
same and stuff like that, because they're like in the consistency of the user experience. So they might like drag and drop buttons and stuff like that, but they will not check that the separation is 24 pixels and 8 padding and stuff like that. They will not do that because that's not what they're interested in. They're interested in telling me like we need a button there, and my job is to make it so the button is there but it looks well aligned as everything else in the website, consistent visually.
Perfect, perfect. I think it's pretty clear. And
Yeah.
if you have any questions, you can always contact Betty
Yes, you
on
know
it.
my Instagram, send me messages.
Yeah, send her messages, bother her. Okay, before going to the next topic, that it's really interesting. Before that, I wanna do a quick pause.
Hmm.
Hey, I think we're back. Now everything's okay. So we were finalizing our conversation regarding the UI UX and uh, moving to the next topic, which is design systems, right?
Yep.
You wanted to talk about that, which is a really important matter on UI specifically. What can you tell us
Mhm.
about it, or UI UX in general?
Actually, that's what I want to talk about. It, I'm preaching design systems. It's not only for UI and UX designers. I believe design systems are a way for us to work efficiently as a team with our devs as well. Because what is a design system? It's basically a living document. I call it living because it's not like I finished it, I close it, and we're not going to change it. No, it's always evolving. So it's a living document where you add almost everything about the software you're creating, including the brand values. For example, if you work for a company that is fun and laid back, you document that your language is going to be fun, laid back. You're not going to use like a lot of capitalized letters in Spanish, for example, that we have the way of talking that it's formal and the way that it's informal. You would also specify like we're going to talk informal, we're going to talk about tú instead of usted. So that's the kind of thing that you put there. And so, as you can see, that's already something that's not either graphic design nor development. It's something more like marketing. So you document that. And from the visual side, you document the visuals that help you enforce those messages. For example, if we're a fun company, so we're gonna use these colors that are fun, like yellow and orange, etc., that are energetic. And also, we're gonna use these fonts for titles, these fonts for the body, these fonts for the buttons, and these specific sizes. And also, like what kind of imagery we're gonna use, like if it's gonna be black and white, if it's gonna be colorful, what points of view, etc. Like everything gets documented here. And where do the devs come up, or how does this help the developer team? is that in design systems you have to think what are the things that you are going to be using throughout the software, like something that you have to have is the navigation, the buttons, like what does a paragraph look like, drop downs, radio buttons, checkboxes, all of these very basic elements we are designing from the start. And since we're designing them from the start, we're gonna develop them from the start with the styles that they need. And we're gonna create a library of those components and reuse them throughout our system. And that way we can save time and be consistent throughout the design. And that's why I feel like design systems are pretty cool because it helps to make the job more efficient because we're gonna use the elements that we have there. Every so and so, like I said, this is a living document. We will add more components if it's needed. If we are like, we cannot solve this with the checkboxes. We need a drop down with checkboxes inside that are nested. Okay, we're gonna develop that component and we know later on that we can reuse it. We're not gonna invent something new if we already have something that can solve our problems, but sometimes it's not the case and we have to create something else. Um, so that's what design systems are, is this living document where you put everything that you need to design software in a single place, including, like I said, like values, visual aspects, and examples of how to use and how not to use. And also, now also you have to put some parameters on accessibility, like for visual impairment and etc. Like also for audio to remind ourselves to create them in a
Nice.
way that
Uh, Norma, and who designs this? Is there, do
it
we have,
is a
it
teamwork
is
thing.
okay. It is a
It,
it is a teamwork.
mhm. It can be centralized or uncentralized. Like if
Mhm.
you're in a large company, sometimes there's a smaller team that is dedicated to it that includes like the graphic designer, UX designer, a developer, and a writer. Um, but sometimes it also happens like globally, like if throughout the company, people start making the designs and they notice like, oh, like a designer made it, for example, at the
Mhm.
beginning centralized, and later on another designer is like, oh, we need a new component, so that other designer will participate with another UX designer and the developer to create this new component, and so it becomes decentralized and it becomes more like a
Like a collaboration thingy.
collaboration. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why it's also called a living document because it has to keep being updated. And also, it has to be updated for the devs because hi, I don't know a lot of this, but sometimes they're like, oh, this is an Angular blah blah, and this is an Angular blah blah blah. So we have
Hmm.
to create like the different versions for the different technologies
Yeah.
that our software is evolving to as well. So it evolves visually and it evolves in the code as well. So yeah, in our team where I work at, we have like the developer for the components, and it's pretty cool because we work. I mean, I guess most of your public must be familiarized with like working in like how do you say Scrum Master, sprints, sprint
Yeah.
planning,
Like
all of
a
that, and having different
agile scrum. Yes.
yeah.
Different teams.
So, and sometimes you're working with a team and you say like, we need this new component. No, no, that's out of scope because it's a new component and we cannot develop it. But then I talked to the other designers and they agree that that component is useful. And we talked to our developer for our design system and is, can you create this component so our team doesn't have to invest the time to create the component? And he's like, sure. And he adds it to the design system and now it's like a plug and play for them, and that solves a lot of problems. That's why I wanted to talk about this in this podcast with you because I know that you guys are developers, and it creates like a headache that sometimes designers want crazy things and stuff like that. well, now you know that design systems exists, and maybe it would be good to talk to your designer about that. Like, why can't we create a system and we can be more consistent in how we use stuff and create components mindfully? It's not like you don't have to make every page different. You have to have a certain visual pattern and behaviors. And with the design system, it's easier to achieve that because you have everything pre-made, almost everything, except when you need something to resolve a new problem, like I just mentioned, like creating a new component. But it's not always the case. That's why it's more consistent to create a design system. I don't know if
Nice.
I'm making any sense. Okay,
For me, it makes sense. I
makes
mean,
sense.
I'm just picturing a scenario, a really maybe a really typical scenario where a I don't know, a software team uses a specific task. We're talking more on the front end side.
Hmm.
Maybe the team uses React or something like that, or
Hmm.
and maybe the design system will have some uh, compatibility with the technology or with the stack itself, or if you use Angular or any other technology that you use, you might have those components already in that translated in that language that you're gonna use. I mean, just the UI part, or if it's just a piece of HTML, you will have those blocks of HTML or whatever you're using to make it simple for the developer to use, like
Yeah, mostly the
just
front end
copy.
developer. Yeah.
Exactly, more for the front end developer to be just more like a copy paste from there or whatever. So in that case, it makes total sense. Just whenever, as you said, if you're gonna add a new component, maybe the developer creates it for you. Okay,
Yeah.
we're using this tag, and you want it that way. I will create it. So all the developers will just simply make use of it. Makes total sense.
Yeah, but only if it's actually like needed. You it's not, you shouldn't just like add new components like crazy person. You really
All
have
right.
to think about it if you're gonna have that problem in the future as well,
Mm.
and it's good to resolve it right now with that new component, then go ahead and do it. Then if
I
not,
think
it's good to
the,
think about the problem and see if you can solve it with what you have.
yeah, that will depend on other meetings, I guess. Maybe
Yes.
maybe the UI team or other team will have some meetings to discuss that
Yes.
matter if it makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's
So,
what I mentioned, that you
mhm,
have to go, it's very collaborative,
mhm.
and you have to discuss it with other team members, UX designers, and maybe the stakeholders. Depends. But yeah,
Agree. Agree. Yeah, yeah. This is really useful, and for some cases, uh, it could be complex because I mean there
yeah,
are many from my point of view, there are many technology stacks that are really used widely, like React, Angular, those ones that maybe all the design systems or most of them are already compatible with those.
yeah,
But I have some experience using some low code platforms that is not that friendly. I mean, it's more um, it's already comes with its own design systems, and maybe adapting new things is not that simple.
yes.
So
That's why I mentioned like business analyst or
yeah.
something like that. You have to think about that. If you're making a short or small budget project and you have a specific tool that comes with a specific design system,
Mhm.
and you are low on budget and you cannot develop new stuff for it
Mhm.
or customize it too much, then you have to work with the things you have the best you can. And normally, every design system at least lets you change the color or fonts,
Yeah,
maybe
that
some of the padding and stuff, and that can help you make it more personalized to you if you use the correct visual cues. But if you are in a big company, and you have the budget, then you create your own design system. And also
yeah.
because you're creating a large software and it's worth it. If you're just creating a landing page for a website to sell one thing, you wouldn't do a design system. Like, it's not worth it because you're just going to use it for like just one page.
So
That's, yeah.
so are there? I mean, no, normally you do the design system, the team does it. Is there or are there any design systems widely used in the market or common or?
Yes. Actually, speaking of React, Material UI, you can Google
Mhm.
it. It's a copy of Material IO.
Okay.
If you're okay, I can share my screen.
Yep, yep. Go ahead.
Uh, okay. I'm gonna share the. Oh, I think this is good. Can you see
Or
this?
yep, I think
Okay,
that people can
so
see. So before going that way, give me your perspective about UI. Which one looks better, this one or this one?
which other one? This one?
Yeah, you saw the two.
Yeah, I have two. But right now in this one, what I selected isn't something visual, but something that I
Okay.
really liked about. I mean, both are good. Actually, Material IO is like the base. Even if you're creating your own design system, I'm pretty sure you're gonna take some stuff from here. So, what I'm going to talk about is material design, which is the most basic and used design system, I think. No, I don't think. I'm sure of it that it's the most used one. And what do we have here? Like, we even have right now introduction, the studies, how to use it, and like I mentioned, components, which are good because this was created also for apps, and they know that apps need like navigation, they need buttons, they need snack bars, which is funny because some design systems, the snack bar, which is the message you get in the bottom when something is created, it's called toast bar in other ones. So it's funny that we all have these names referring to food, and also these are called chips. I thought the people that created design systems were hungry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's the hamburger menu also.
Yes, hamburger menu, etc. So basically, as you can see, this is like a whole website with
Yeah.
information on the design system. So, and actually, material is done with adding your own theme in mind. Like it creates the basics. It gives you like the buttons and the radio buttons and the checkboxes and navigation and stuff. But it's meant for you to add your own color and typography and icons and motions, etc. Like so
This
you
is
can
this is
work
called
on it.
material. Sorry, this is called material UI or
No, this is Material IO,
oh IO. Okay.
and Material UI is the copy of
Oh yeah, I got
Material
it. Got it.
IO done for React.
Okay,
I think
got it.
I have it over here as well. Mm, is it this one? Yes. Ta-da! You can see, but as you can see here,
Mhm.
it is more towards the developer.
Okay, got it.
Like you have the design examples, but as you can see, it doesn't have the same information right now as I'm going to show you Material IO of what the buttons are, like are. Like here, we saw buttons there, and let me see if I can find buttons here. Damn it. Um, Boo.
No worries. This is the good thing is that we were more focused on material IO.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, like as you see here in the content of this page, it's
Mhm.
more like you can actually see the tabs. Right now, we're
Correct.
talking about the design of the stuff,
Uh
like
huh.
how it should look and how you can use them. And it has examples of what to do and what not to do, etc. Also, things as simple as date formats, like how you should write your dates. For example, here you have to write the date with the month written down. And this is
Mhm.
not by accident. It's because if they add like 14 or 9, 9, 2012, for English speakers, the nine at the beginning might be either the month or the
the
day, and
month.
then
Yeah.
for people in Mexico, it might be the other way around. So
All
it
right.
creates confusion. So they put it in their design system that you have to write down the month to avoid confusion. So this is all that goes into the design system. Iconography, the grids, how the light um, works with it, etc. Like all the details. And here you can see like basically just the components for development. And here you can also see the components for development. Here are the components like already done, like the buttons like we were talking about. And you can see that the default, the mini version, how you should use it, what to do, what not to do, and things that are might be okay in special moments. So it is more complete. And if you do need how to implement it, you have it over here as well.
Hmm.
So this is a very complete design system. And this library is more focused on development because it doesn't give you all the information about why the button, why the color, etc. And when to use it. It doesn't give you like the best practices. And a good, well documented, oh, I put this because we had the confusion of what is a UX wireframe. And this is
Nice.
one example. This could be like this is low fidelity,
Hmm.
but it's give you an idea of what the UX does. Like,
It's pretty cool.
mhm. So well, a good design system gives you good practices, bad practices, and how to use them, basically. You see, use of anatomy,
Nice.
placement, behavior, everything. That's why this
Nice.
design system is very popular because it's super complete. I mean, Google doesn't, oh, this is made by Google. So,
Ah, okay.
yeah, they do stuff well. The other
Yeah.
one that I have open over here is the carbon design system for IBM. And I don't think either one is more prettier than other. Well, maybe carbon design system because I feel the
Mhm.
Google one is like too poppy, too colorful and stuff. But like I mentioned, like the Google one is meant to be themed on. Like you're gonna change the colors to your brand. But this one I really like that it also includes the voice, like I mentioned, also like the marketing part. Like how are you gonna write? Are you gonna write in a formal way, in a calm way, or and also what type of um, pronouns are we gonna use as well? That's something important. Being accessible, like what tools can we use to make all the users have a good experience, and also talks about motion. And that's something pretty cool because I at the beginning I wanted to study graphic design to do animation, and then I went to UI design, and now animation is coming to me because now part of my job will be to design the motion. Like what do I want to happen when you click a button? It doesn't just hover, it might shrink a little bit or stuff like that, and that is creating a design of motion. And also that should be documented because that should be consistent throughout the software. So
Nice. I
yeah,
didn't know
so
about that.
yeah, and they normally, when you have a design system, you normally do it in also like online with the components that you want to copy paste as a developer, like the code, and also offline, or not offline, but also in the software of the designer. For example, we have the kits here that are for Sketch. But for example, I work with XD, so the company I work with needs to have the design system in XD. Other companies I work with use their design system in Figma. So it depends what software you're using is where you are going to create your design system and then publish it on the web for the developers to use. So yeah, design systems are pretty cool because it's a library, a place of truth, uh, the source of truth, like how it should look, how it would behave, and, and yeah, and
Nice.
that's it's like
Is
the puzzle pieces.
is Figma a really common one? Because I
Uh,
have used it.
I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think Figma it's a new player, but
Hmm.
I've used both Sketch, Figma. I mean, the
Oh,
three
Sketch. Yeah.
Sketch, Figma, and Adobe XD. And
Oh, okay.
Figma, I love it.
So you would say the big three in the for the design systems in terms
For
of the
UI,
software for the UI
yeah,
is like a Figma, XD, Adobe XD,
yes, Sketch.
and Sketch.
The
Nice.
Sketch is very powerful. I do
Mhm.
like it a lot, and it has integration with. You mentioned it in the beginning of the conversation. Uh,
With
I forgot the name, but
don't worry, don't worry.
yeah, you can upload it to that thing that you mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, and that is a
Okay.
easily hand off to the designers.
Hmm.
Um, but to designers, to developers. And
Okay.
what the difference with Adobe XD and Figma is that you don't have to use an intermediate, like like what you mentioned in the beginning. You hand it off
Are,
directly there.
okay. Are you talking about the technology stack or something like that, or not really?
No,
I forgot what I just said.
you mentioned it like if it were a design software, but it isn't.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I
I,
forgot. I'm sorry.
no, no
Um,
worries.
so yeah, so basically, material Figma. It's pretty powerful because it's like a collaborate tool. Like, if are you familiar with Google Docs?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know that you can all create the
Mhm.
PowerPoint at the same time.
Yeah.
Well,
It's really collaborative. That was the cool new stuff about Google Docs, right?
yep. So Figma is like that.
Yeah.
It's like you can all the designers can be on the same file, which is kind of scary but pretty
Yeah.
cool. And also the design library, you can publish it and share it with other designers, and that is awesome as well. In Adobe XD, you can do that as well, but that is new. Like, if they're running a competition, I think Adobe XD is kind of falling back, but I'm pretty sure that they're gonna make their software better because they do have the money for it and have the
Yeah.
use for it. And Figma is free, kind of like only if you use it for larger teams, you have to pay for it.
Okay.
So I think
Nice.
it's
Nice.
gonna take a moment, but Adobe will catch up. But for the moment, I really enjoy Figma.
All right. So, as the word of UI UX, as of December 2021, Figma seems like a good player there.
Yeah,
But
and
we have
I mean, Sketch is pretty awesome. Don't get me wrong, but the limitation of only being available for MacBooks is pretty lame. And
oh,
yeah, and also that you have to use a third party to do the handoff with developers.
all right.
Hmm.
Perfect. All right. I think this was a great conversation. I really, really enjoyed it. Everything
Yeah,
related to UI, UX. I think we could had so many conversations about this. There's so much to share. There's so much. It's like a really growing part in the software engineering world. I believe so. All this,
yep,
all this cool stuff. Because everything at the end, the software that we're delivering, it's meant to be used by people, right? And if you don't have, you must have a great user experience and user interface because the user needs to know how to use it and needs to like it somehow, right?
yeah. And
So
also, it shouldn't be a pain for developers. So
yeah,
that's well, like I want to give that emphasis of creating a design system should be a way to make our jobs more efficient.
correct. That's why design systems are for to make job easier for the developers, for us
Yes.
the developers.
And yeah, and also for the in general, all the team, when you have rules set, it's easier for us to create a consistent thing and easier for you to develop the same consistent thing. So we should work
Nice,
with rules. Even
nice.
that's why I said in the beginning that I'm kind of a square. Is because yes, I am creative, but I like rules. Let's create a system.
Let's create a creative system.
Yes.
Nice, nice. Thanks so much, Betty. Any final words that you wanna share?
Just that UI design is pretty cool if you are like me, like you like the hard parts. Like I've tried to be a front end developer. I really enjoy software and websites, but it's not my forte and I really like visuals. This is a good place to be. It's like in the middle. You don't have to be also trendy like when you create designs for branding or for social media. You don't have to be on top of all of those trends, but you still get to be creative and you still get to be a bit of a square and you mix those powers together and you have a UI designer. So if you're kind of in that, I recommend this type of career. It's pretty cool. You get
Nice.
to learn a lot.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. Again, thank you so much, Betty, for your time. It was a pleasure to have you in this episode, and
No problem.
hopefully we
Please.
will we will have more conversations about this.
Sure.
All right, and thanks everyone who watched this or watched till here. Thank you so much. Uh, thanks so much for staying with us and watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.